Welcome please to the JVG podcast, where these G's are gonna spread their seeds of knowledge about the league. It's flourishing with these. These funny catchers seem to be well read, esteemed and honest. Like the man himself, Jeff Van Gundy. They are high IQ, so cerebral and funny. So if you're on the bus, just border on the dunny. Listen to the
JVG NBA Tribute Show.
You are listening to the Jeff Van Gundy Tribute Show on the Deep 2 Podcast Network. My name is Marco, and tonight I'm joined by Olly Lees. Oliver, how are you?
I'm great, Marco. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Just going to set a few things straight before we get started. Olly was my first choice for tonight. I thought it would be good to have such a devout, attentive Minnesota fan on the podcast so soon after their Game 1 win. Had nothing to do with him living 2 rooms over from me in the same house.
Do you start every podcast just assuring your guests that they were the first option?
Well, with Lucas, there's no assurance needed. It's kind of it says it does what it says on the package, if you will.
Yeah.
But yeah, with other guests, I make it abundantly clear.
Well, I want to ask this. 3rd time on the pod for me.
Yeah.
Where does that put me in the pantheon of JVG guests on the all-time scorers list?
You would be now the equal first most featured Minnesota Timberwolves fan.
Who's the other one?
Lucas's ex-stepbrother Angus, who has been on, I think, 2 episodes officially, and then a 3rd episode where he... This is in the weeds. We're episode 161 here, Ollie. I think this would have been like episode 16 or something.
Congratulations on the big 160, by the way.
Thank you. It means a lot. And I believe that he pretended to call in and played about 8 different characters.
Basketball characters?
No, just like angry fans and things of that nature. Maybe he might have done one play. Seriously, this is about 4 years ago at this stage.
Deep COVID.
Yeah. Oh, I might go back and listen to that. But you're definitely in the. I'd say you're probably 2nd most features. I'm gonna say
huge.
I'm not counting official members of the Deep 2 Podcast Network.
Of course.
Your Sean's, your Alessas, your Dantes, things of that nature. But yeah, good to have you on again.
Great to be back, and great to be considered such a valued member of the team. I feel like an extended member of the team at this stage.
100% you are. It's a big family. We're a big tent. Is that what they say about the Liberal Party these days?
This is the first time hearing of it.
You don't feel welcomed by the warm embrace of the
You know what? I've often thought you guys are like the Liberal Party of Victoria.
Hardly ever in control. We didn't come here to talk about Victorian politics, did we, Ollie? We came here to talk about Drake's latest response to the Kendrick. No.
Let's set the record straight once and for all. Marco, drop a beat.
I think we can't be 2 more white guys talking about rap beefs on a podcast.
Best keep it to basketball.
Yeah, should we establish that at the beginning? Should we set the record straight on that?
Let's keep it straight. Yeah.
Cool. Well, the Minnesota Timberwolves got off to a roaring start in their first round series against the Denver Nuggets. Looking well rested, sprightly after their 4-0 sweep of the Phoenix Suns. I think shocked many people in how convincing they looked in this victory. What were your initial thoughts, Ollie?
I think it was easily the most satisfaction I've ever had watching a Minnesota Timberwolves basketball game.
Wow.
It was just comprehensive in ways that, I've moaned about in the past it not being.
Mm-hmm.
It was team defense. There was obviously star factor as well. But it was all the gaps in between that were particularly satisfying. And it just reminded me of watching all of my favorite teams that aren't Minnesota play. Like really comprehensively locking down good players on defense. Rising up in moments where it felt like in the past we certainly would have been overwhelmed. There was... particularly one moment, I think, when Kat looked like he was getting into foul trouble in, I think, the 3rd or the 4th.
Yeah.
A stupid foul on Jamal Murray at the 3 for a 4-point play.
Well, because I think he had 3 fouls at halftime, And then he had 2 very, very quick fouls, either in the third or the fourth, including that.
I think it was back-to-back plays. And
a really dumb one on that Jamal Murray 3 as well.
Really dumb. And you could see him start to get frustrated. And that was just always, he was our guy in big moments, and he would just not rise to it, basically. And he would get frustrated. But I think it just goes to show that we're just so much more mature now as a team. And to his credit, played really well of his own accord. He was a bit quiet in the first half, but I think he had 14 straight points or something. It was ridiculous in the third quarter. And yeah, it was just really impressive in ways that I wasn't expecting, to be honest.
Yeah, 100%. And to start with Cat, he's not a player known. He's not known for his defense at all, to put it lightly. But in the Minnesota Timberwolves system, he is a perfect body to actually guard Jokic. Obviously all the disruption of Jokic's prowess, cutting off his passing lanes, when he does actually get near the rim, stopping him. Then obviously that's falling to Rudy, that's falling to Jaden McDaniels. That's falling to Ant as well. Everyone was, when anyone was called to double on Jokic, they did a really, really good job. And obviously Rudy, cutting off his signature lob to Aaron Gordon, late in the fourth.
Yeah.
Which for me, that was all right, that's it. Minnesota are going to win this game. But just having him be confident to, guard Jokic in the post, be all right, I'm not going to do anything revolutionary here, but I'm 7 feet tall. I'm 100 and something kilograms. I'm not going to let him. I'm not going to let him bully me. I'm not going to let him do whatever he wants. And that was it. He was in foul trouble not because he was fouling Jokic, little Jokic turnaround jumpers or anything like that. He was in foul trouble because of the other stupid stuff that Cat usually does. Overcommitting on the perimeter and that kind of frustration, giving up on a play. I thought we should talk about this later, but in more depth, because there's a point I want to bring up. But it's so good having a guy not usually known for his defense be an instrumental part in stopping the best player on the other team.
And you're always going to pick up a couple of those fouls against Jokic because he's so clever. But it just seemed overall that Jokic wasn't comfortable in the way that he usually is. He was he was frustrated for starters, and he was getting into funny spots. There were times where he was bringing the ball up the court and he was being defended really well, and then he was rushing a pass. He had several turnovers. I don't know the number, but it was quite a few. And
seven turnovers.
He had 7 turnovers.
Yeah.
So he was sort of getting rushed, getting into the key. To be fair, he also wasn't shooting particularly well from outside, which I think helped a lot.
Yeah.
And
2 of 9 from 3, which is he rarely takes 9 3-pointers anyway.
Yeah.
Enough go in that he doesn't have to be taking those shots. Yeah.
Right. That probably tells a story as well, right?
Yeah.
The fact that he was taking so many. He wasn't getting the looks that he wanted inside. They were doubling him well. And I guess also they didn't have the help of Jamal for most of the game. So that option that he's usually dishing out to was restricted. Apparently he's got a calf injury.
Yeah. Jamal and KCP definitely both, nursing injuries. You could see it as well. KCP did a really, as good a job as you can do guarding Anthony Edwards. And then a lot of the other minutes for that were falling to Justin Holiday, who is just not a playoff rotation player, I think. And I think even though, he actually did a pretty good job of Ant, in the sense that, again, as well a job as you can do on one of the best players in the league. And let's pivot to Ant in a second. But they're both obviously not at full strength. And I think Denver looks a lot different when they are. But you talked about star power. That's how you win championships, is guys performing the way that Anthony Edwards is. Just what an unreal game. What a complete unreal game.
It's crazy. I think at the start of the year, you and I showed you some of my predictions for the year. And my hottest one, and well, not the hottest, but the most accurate, was that Naz Reid would be sixth man of the
It
year.
was the most accurate. It was right.
It was probably the only accurate one I made. But one of my not so hot ones was I wasn't convinced that Anthony Edwards would have the consistency to be like a superstar, which is certainly wrong. He was still streaks of inconsistency throughout the regular season. And I wonder whether that's still a factor going later into this series. If they find a way to defend him.
He's played 5 amazing playoff games.
He has.
Yeah.
He holds 6 of our 10 best individual scoring performances in our history.
Was this a Minnesota playoff?
This was a
scoring
record
as well?
43
points. I mean, yeah, it's a bit.
Yeah, and we've played so many playoff games. That's really impressive. I think he knocked Corey Brewer off his perch or something like that. Who am I kidding? Corey never got there.
Yeah. There's not much of a pantheon, but he's inhabiting it. He's making it his own.
It's great, isn't it? Just awesome to see a smaller team doing well.
100%.
There's so many funny facts about Minnesota basketball out there. It was the first time a Minnesota team has ever swept a series in any major sport.
Really?
Yeah.
Far out.
And I think
Not even hockey.
Not even hockey. And yeah, I saw a graphic from earlier in the year. It was combining the 4 major sporting leagues and team performance over history.
Yeah.
And Minnesota Timberwolves were, I think, about third last in total win share of every team across the 4 major sports in America.
Wow.
So it's about damn time is what I'm saying.
Yeah. And it's gone through, I mean, drafting Anthony Edwards isn't we always say don't give teams credit for making, the obvious pick with the number 1 pick. But like, this is a guy, like, obviously all of these quotes have been going around after these last few performances of people being, how he gave one of those interviews. He's like, honestly, I don't really care that much about basketball.
Right.
Like,
Yes.
Which maybe was taken out of context as well. I think he was just talking about he's a competitor in every sense of the word. But everyone's like, oh, I'd be worried about Anthony Edwards, like his lack of drive, concerns me a bit. I know there was a lot, like, even though they didn't have an opportunity to draft him, but like the Golden State Warriors were like, nah, not really keen on him. Can you imagine if Anthony Edwards is on the Golden State Warriors these last 4 years?
Right.
Like, it would be a completely, as well as having a championship 2 years ago, they would probably still be in the playoffs. They would probably still be a competitor. So yeah, it's good for, like, a franchise that's gone through a lot of tough times, a lot of down times, to have also to have like number 1 picks pan out in this way. Like, it's not a guarantee that things are going to work out.
We've picked really well.
Yeah.
Since I've been a fan, we've picked really well.
Yeah.
We got Andrew Wiggins, who has been a really decent player and was pretty decent for us.
Yeah, but like, that's probably what I mean. You pick someone over first overall, they turn into Andrew Wiggins. They're not changing the direction of your franchise. Sure. I mean, maybe in a roundabout way by trading for D'Lo, and then D'Lo being part of the he was part of the Rudy trade. He was their salary in that.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, you did turn Andrew Wiggins into Rudy Gobert.
This is big brain shit.
But like, more like, all right, you're drafting Anthony Edwards. He's obviously this super athlete. But like, there's a couple of questions about his drive, and now he's like, the best player in the playoffs, just very, very clearly over the stretch of the first round, and this one game that we've had in the second round.
Yeah. I mean, he comprehensively was the best player on the court against the defending champions.
Yeah.
Who seemed invincible in a lot of ways.
100%. I just thought they had a cakewalk. I didn't think this series would be easy, but I was like, yeah, Denver, Boston. That's the finals for sure.
We should still, keep in mind that it is just one game.
Yeah.
I'm trying very hard not to get too overexcited, like with the Twitter meme and everything.
We'll get to that. Let's just go through some other people on this team. Rudy Gobert he can't stop doing good. After, I think, even if I look at it from a personal view, I've been a huge doubter even a hater of Rudy Gobert in years past. And like, he has just looked so good this playoffs. Like, his defense is insane. He's like just doing what he has to on offense. I mean, he could. We were both yelling at him while we were watching this, being like, just turn around and fucking dunk the ball.
Yeah.
But like, it hasn't really posed a huge issue for you guys.
Yeah.
You know, because you have had like like Ant and Cat both be pretty efficient, and yeah, even like guys like Mike Conley putting in the shift. And then Naz Reid, who I think he had a little run in the fourth quarter.
Did he ever?
It was one of maybe 3 or 4 moments that like really won you the game.
Yeah. There was a putback dunk. There was a 3.
Yeah.
I think there was a fast break as well.
Was there another 3?
Yeah, he scored 14 points in maybe the third quarter.
Yeah.
And like 16 for the game. But it was, it was exactly what we needed.
Yeah.
Some bench minutes with Ant needing to not just have complete share of the ball.
And I think Rudy and Kat were both on the bench for a good chunk of that as well, which is super important. Like, not.
But, that was the other thing. When Kat was in foul trouble, you and I were debating: do you put him back on in the final 3 minutes, because Nas was looking really good. And it's just such a comfort. It's like, well, yes, Cat needs to come off for a rest, or is in foul trouble.
Yeah.
And then you've just got
both are going to happen.
Right. They're both inevitable. You got this awesome guy who is also enormous that can fill that hole, and like I feel quite confident in him.
Yeah. Going to the Denver side of things. So, I mean, we touched on Jamal Murray not quite looking himself. He was 0 of 5 in the first half, but then he hit 6 of his 9 next shots. So even when Jamal Murray is not operating at full capacity, he's dangerous. And like, he did really turn it on in that second half. Like, he just started hitting some ridiculous shots.
Yeah.
But he, like, as well as not looking comfortable, I really do think that like McDaniels did a great, did such a good job of not letting him have an easy shot. I think that he got that one, there was that one pick and roll with Jokic where he just got like a little open free throw line jumper.
Yeah.
And I think that was the only easy shot he took all game. Otherwise it was like contested layups, the ridiculous and 1-3 that he hit.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I think that's just the perfect way to play a guy who's not at full fitness, is like, all right, might not be trying to stop him or, get the ball out of his hands, but I'm just going to make it really, really difficult if he wants to get a shot up. Yeah.
There seemed to be multiple instances where it looked like they were going to have one of those plays where it was going to be some sort of easy basket. There was one transition that they had off a miss, and I think they were like 3-on-2, but we just played this excellent sort of like corralling defense, and they had to retreat, and then they had a miss basket.
The pressure gauge must have been off the charts.
Through the roof, my friend. Oh my gosh. It was really impressive. Jaden McDaniels is fantastic. Didn't score.
No.
But I guess it didn't matter.
No, but to have a good game and go 0 of 7 is, again, it speaks to the depth that you have. That doesn't have an impact.
Yeah, but on Jamal, yes, he did come good in the second half, but it didn't really feel. I don't remember it feeling particularly impactful, even after that.
Yeah. There was a moment where I was like, is he gonna drag Denver back into this game? But then, I think there was just those, the Naz Reid put back, Gobert intercepting that lob. We didn't even talk about the Gobert mid-range bank shot.
Best looking jump shot in the NBA.
That felt like the dagger for me. And then I think Ant hit like a 3 that was like, all right, game over.
Yeah.
As well. But like there was before that, those several events, it was like, all right, Jamal, could he drag them back into this game? Yeah. And like that's what he's done. So even against the Lakers, like, there were 2 games where they were just not convincingly winning at all. And then he was just like, all right, Jokic set a screen for me and I'm going to get a good shot. And he just did 7-8 times in a row down the floor and won the game.
Yeah. And like thinking about that Lakers series as well, obviously they won the series 4-1, which seems really comprehensive. But they were trailing and big portions of a lot of those games.
Yeah.
I think from the majority of the series, I think they were actually behind.
Yeah.
Which, you know, maybe is part of them just being like, okay, we can turn it on late. Or maybe are they not playing as well or at their best as we think they are?
Yeah. Yeah, is their baseline not as good as it was last season? Which, I mean, it's very possible. But yeah, I mean, you also just don't want to discount this lineup in the slightest.
I certainly don't. I bet.
Yeah.
I wonder. It will be interesting to see how the bench matchups continue to play out.
Yeah.
Because we also had Mikhail come off the bench and hit a couple important shots.
Yeah.
But then who's Denver got coming off the bench? Like
Nobody. Like
Brown, is it pronounced Brown?
Yeah, Christian Brown. He had his good. He actually had his first good game of the playoffs. He played 19 minutes, which already feels like more than you really want to be playing him. Reggie Jackson, he
started the game amazingly.
Yeah, he sparked that comeback in the first quarter, which like Justin Holiday's not producing any offensive output for you. I don't really think he should be in the playoff rotation at all. I think that was a bit of like, again, like I said, KCP's and Jamal Murray are not at full fitness. Like, we need a guy with long arms to stay in front of Ant. And then Aaron Gordon had a really weird game as well. It just didn't feel like he had much impact on defense.
No,
because they were going for the KCP or Justin Holiday matchup on Ant, and like Aaron Gordon often does get the best perimeter, assignment on any given night, but like,
is he a bit big?
He's a bit big and he's a bit slow laterally, and I think Ant might just abuse that. But like, maybe to pivot about to what Denver can do in game 2, like, is that something you should try? Like, because like, outside of Aaron Gordon, like, Michael Porter Jr., he's tall, but he's not strong defensively, So if you are going for Aaron Gordon as that matchup on Ant, you are giving Cat, an easy post matchup, and you are, like, it doesn't matter if you give Rudy an easy post matchup, he's not going to abuse it anyway.
Yeah,
but
not even going to use it.
Yeah,
probably.
yeah. But then that's the question: is Cat going to do that? Because Cat is just so much more comfortable when he's playing on the perimeter, like off the dribble or off movement. Like, if you go, all right, KCP, you guard Cat on this possession. Like, I don't know if Cat really takes advantage of that.
I think you have to try something like that. You're much better off taking a bet on is Cat gonna do something than just leaving it at the hands of Ant, because we know Cat can be really streaky and a bit sort of moody and impetuous, and it's and he can just make mistakes basically. Much more than it seems Ant's capable of doing. He's so composed and makes really good passes when he's getting trapped and things like that as well, in ways that I don't think Cat does.
No, Cat's got a bit of that Joel Embiid where he's like, I'd rather panic and fight through the double than make the easy make the easy pass.
Or do some sort of forced layup during a foul that doesn't draw a foul, and then
fall down.
Exactly. And have a cry about it, that sort of thing. So it's a good point. Maybe you do that, or maybe, I don't know. Do they don't change their lineup, do they?
Nah, they can't. There's no one that's going to sub in unless someone's injured. Like, if any of those backcourt players are injured, Reggie Jackson comes in, and like, that's not gonna. Yeah. That's not a plus. That's a okay. What can we get out of Reggie Jackson tonight? And to be fair, like plus minus Justin Holiday, Reggie Jackson plus 19, plus 15 in a what was it? 7-point loss.
7-point loss.
Like, I wouldn't read anything into that. I think that's more like, okay, what, Reggie Jackson was winning the Nickeil Alexander-Walker minutes. Or the Kyle Anderson minutes as well.
Also, I felt like we came out the second half and we shot the ball so well.
Oh yeah, you were like 11 of 12.
It was
something.
It was and like 5 of 6 in the key. And I don't know what it was. Everything was above 50%.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much you take with a grain of salt with those things as well.
Well, that's what I wanted to talk about as well. Is this was a full game of runs and streaks. Like, you opened the game, Minnesota opened the game on an 18-4 run, and then Denver countered with an 18-3 run. Then, like, Denver were playing really well at the beginning of the third quarter, but you were just shooting so well it didn't matter. And then like Naz Reid had that little 14-point explosion. Cat had a little getting every bucket himself.
Even Mike Conley had a little.
Yeah. Mike Conley. I mean Reggie Jackson for a moment there.
Yeah.
Michael Porter Jr. had some really good runs. So that's the other thing, which is I think Minnesota have shown how you defend Jokic, how you disrupt the Nuggets offense, how you maybe exploit their defense, but they're just it still feels like either team could just get on a run at one point and put the game away, sort of prematurely, I suppose. The fact that you conceded an 18-3 run is concerning.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Whichever way, even though it came on the back of an 18-4 run in your favor, Denver are a team that, they're so well drilled. They have such an established offensive scheme that if they've done that before, they'll figure out how to do it again.
Yeah, that's really worth keeping in mind as well. I said that Minnesota seems far more experienced than I've ever seen before. Far more mature, having guys like Conley and Gobert and stuff. That's definitely true, but it probably still pales in comparison to Denver's leadership, and what they went through last year. Having that experience, they're just so competent, and they've been in so many late game situations, and they know each other so well that's huge.
Yeah, exactly right. But I think Anthony Edwards will look like the best player on the floor, pretty much every night. I mean, Jokic has so much he can do as well. But I think that, to me, I think that's what you should sort of rest your hat on, I suppose, is Anthony Edwards is a legitimate playoff superstar now, and that means he can just win a game by himself. There's a game here that Jamal Murray is going to win by himself. There's a game here that Jokic is going to win by himself. He wasn't hitting those fuck off late clock threes like he usually is. He's going to do that sometime in this series.
There's a game here that Carl Anderson's going to win by himself.
I mean, I guess. But Ant is in that. I think Ant's in that level now of a guy who can just, take the ball and win a playoff game kind of single-handedly. Now, there was one other thing I want to talk about. So there's this I was just reading this good article in The Athletic by Sam Amick. It's probably Amick. Because there's just been this thing going around on, Twitter, other places, about how Tim Connolly, spent 9 years building this Denver team.
Oh yeah.
And then as soon as he got to Minnesota, he's like, all right, how do I beat Denver? And just went about kind of building the perfect roster to beat Denver in the playoffs. He's obviously denied that publicly, as you wouldn't be no, I got Rudy Gobert for a whole other host of reasons, because he's the best rim running defensive center in the league, blah 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 blah. But everyone else, according to this article, everyone else in the organization around him is nah, that was definitely his number one thing, was get Rudy, extend Naz Reid, don't trade Cat. Keep those big bodies who will help us defend Jokic in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Isn't that really cool?
It's so cool. It's so interesting.
Yeah.
And the whole Rudy Gobert situation alone is just really interesting to look at the lifespan of the Rudy Gobert to Minnesota conversation.
Yeah.
I just could not believe when that happened. The sheer weight
the
sheer weight of humans that were exchanged for this tall Frenchman was just unbelievable. It's an incredible bit of team building. Yeah. Really. Yeah. I mean, it's worked in this game, and as I said, on a whole, we just look like such a comprehensive defensive team. And I think the most impressive part is where to put Cat, who I just felt, honestly, before this season, I felt we're never going to get rid of him, but we should.
Yeah.
And now I'm no, actually, he's fine. He's found his spot. He's
really well.
Yeah. He's can score really well.
Yeah.
He can defend well. He gets plenty of rebounds. He doesn't need to be the guy. In fact, he should not be the guy. Yeah. And it's a good system. So
yeah, and I think he needed a season of more fitness, more familiarity with the system. I think also like, you know, when they trade for Rudy, it's like, oh, so they're going to play two centers. And it's like, no, Cat is genuinely a power forward. Like he's like Kevin Durant with, you know, an extra 40 kilos on him or something like that. Like he's a guy who plays with the ball in his hands on the perimeter or as a spot up shooter. He's not a post player, you know, he's not a post defender either really, but like if you don't use him like that, then he's not that player.
Yeah.
But like that's probably something he had to come to terms with as well, being like, you know, I'm a 7 foot center who can shoot threes. It's like, no, you're kind of like you're a Kevin Durant type.
And I think he's probably very relieved that Anthony Edwards came along and took away some of that heat from him.
Yeah, for sure.
Because he's just not that guy, and that's so fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tim Connolly. I mean, gosh, just the goal to even execute such a thing. Honestly, like
it was crazy.
It was crazy.
I'll take no shame in being like, I just thought it was the stupidest thing ever when it happened. I was just like, what this is an overpay for a guy who's been underperforming, who was bad in the playoffs, who doesn't fit your roster at all.
Yeah.
He could see the forest for the trees.
Can you imagine the quantity of freezing cold takes? If Minnesota win a championship with Rudy Gobert, there's not going to be enough space on the internet for all of the freezing cold takes.
Well, he's going to win another Defensive Player of the Year. So that's going to open the floodgates a bit. I mean, even if this series goes, you know, if Denver doesn't turn around and win the next 4 games, like there's going to be like, okay, Rudy did a really, really good job on Jokic. Someone who, like, he's actually historically been pretty bad against. Like, Jokic really relishes the Gobert matchup for the kind of, like, passing opportunities it opens up for him, for, you know, the foul opportunities he gets as well. But, like, you're right. Like, Jokic went into this game looking uncomfortable and, like, he didn't want to deal with Rudy.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah. Any final thoughts? Prediction for game 2? You know,
prediction from game 2. I think I see. What do I see? I think Denver win game 2. I think Denver win game 2. They'll find they're really clever. I think Mike Malone's a really good coach. I think they'll find ways to free up Jokic, having looked at what we did this time around. I think he's going to have a phenomenal game passing the ball. He'll be turning it over less. Yeah. And we'll square the ledger, and then we'll see where we go from there.
Yeah, I agree. I think Denver will go into game 2. I think just also more locked in on offense. Hopefully we get a fitter Jamal Murray and KCP. I think they'll be like, just like trying different defensive options on Ant, who I feel like they weren't making a huge effort to actually like slow down in game 1. And then I really think, you know, even though Rudy had 4 fouls and Cat had 5, I think Denver tried really, really, really hard to get that pair in foul trouble early, because I think Rudy had one foul at halftime, and I think Jokic, if he really sets his mind to it, is, you know, capable of getting the switch onto him and then like getting 2 or 3 fouls in the first half and just making things a little bit. It's not even the like prospect of not having Rudy on the floor. It's like, it's kind of how it unnerves the team when you're like, oh shit, we're in foul trouble. Like it changes the way everyone acts, you know, because it's not just Rudy Gobert not trying to foul. It's everyone else being like, all right, then if McDaniels is on 2 and he's like, fuck, if I get 1, then like, you know, we're all sort of at risk.
I could be wrong, but is Rudy pretty good at escaping foul trouble?
Yeah, he is. He's not a foul trouble.
He's not a very, like, he doesn't take a lot of liberties with his defense. He's not swiping and things like that. Like, he is just huge. Yeah. And just uses that. Yeah. And is always in a good position.
And this is what you often talk about with Rudy, is like, he doesn't always lead the league in blocks, or, you know, or even, like, he's always up there, obviously. But, like, Rudy's thing is deterring people from, you know, taking the shots in the first place. Yeah. Which you saw plenty of from, well, really everyone on the Denver Nuggets in this game. But and that I think helps, you know, keep him out of foul trouble. I might be a bit of a chicken and egg as well, because, you know, you see Hassan Whiteside standing under the rim and you're like, yeah, he gets a lot of blocks, but like he's probably going to foul me. So I'll go for it. Yeah. But, you know, Nikola Jokic he can figure out ways to get Rudy in foul trouble. I've seen Rudy foul out plenty, I reckon.
Yeah. Nikola can work anything out.
Yeah.
You want to talk WNBA? Maybe some WNBL? Australian Opals chat? Heck, even dabble in some EuroLeague? Find the W Basketball Show on the Deep 2 Podcast Network.
The NBA moves so quickly these days, it's hard to keep up. Shams and Woj are breaking stories left and right, but the Quick Time Out is right there with them to keep you informed on the latest NBA news. Stop in and let us break it down as it happens. Find the Quick Time Out on the Deep 2 Podcast Network.
Shall we just have a quick look around the grounds?
Around the grounds,
as we put it, at the other three series that we have here for ourselves. I'm just frantically trying to get.
There are other series.
No, well, the winner of this wins the chip. You heard it here first. No, I think Sean and Lucas said that on the last episode of Deep 2 as well.
Well, we got Knicks and Pacers.
Yeah, so Knicks Pacers, game one of that series is on tomorrow. I'm really excited for this series. I don't know if it's going to be as pretty basketball. Let's also say, sorry, just to backtrack immediately, that it was just a fantastic game of basketball to watch.
Oh yeah.
The quality of the play was incredible.
Insane. It was nuts.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
And I made breakfast wraps for us all.
Oh,
they were delicious.
So good. They had everything going on.
Honestly, it was.
Should we walk them through what was in them?
Oh, absolutely. You want to take the reins?
All right. So we had a tortilla of some sorts.
We did.
We had my famous scrambled eggs.
Famous.
Nice and buttery. Then we had halloumi, bacon.
Yeah.
Very crispy bacon.
Yeah, bit of spinach, bit of garlic sauce left over from Al Jana.
Some pickles were there as well.
Some pickles.
And then a whole hash brown.
And a whole hash brown. It was simply divine. My viewing experience of that game was just so good. So good. So I would like some more of that, please.
Yeah.
And I think Knicks and Pacers is going to be really good.
Yeah, it'll be a really fun series. It's one of the league's best offenses against one of the league's best defenses.
Yeah.
But I also think the Pacers really figured something out with their defense in the series against Milwaukee. Obviously not having Giannis or Dame there for most of the series really helped that. But
that's pretty helpful.
But it was like Siakam was really kind of holding everyone together. And I'm interested to see how that goes against a full strength team. But particularly if a team of the Knicks that they're not very potent offensively, but they have been managing to generate some much better offense in this playoffs, through Josh Hart hitting 5 threes or Dante DiVincenzo having 30 points, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, I think this will be a really fun series. You got thoughts, predictions for game one?
I like the Knicks.
Yeah,
I really like the Knicks. Interesting as well to have Siakam and Anunoby on opposing sides after being teammates for so long.
Probably guarding each other too.
Two awesome players in two different places. They've done really good things in both of those places.
Yeah.
Look, I'm quite hopeful that I hope it's a long series, but I hope the Knicks win. It's just really good for basketball. And, these are traditional rivals. I think they played 3 series from 93 to 95.
Yeah.
A couple of them went to 7 games.
Yeah.
And they played again from 2003 to 2005.
Yeah. It was against the Knicks. Was that Reggie Miller? What was it? How many points in how many seconds was it?
Yeah. A few.
God. Was it?
Did that happen in the playoffs?
7 points in 9 seconds. 8 points in 9 seconds. Yeah. It was in the playoffs. It was May 7th, actually. Tomorrow's the anniversary.
No way. Is he going to be on the call as well?
He could be. Yeah, he very well could be. Yeah.
That's
nuts. The 29-year anniversary of Reggie Miller scoring 8 points in 9 seconds to lead the Pacers to a come-from-behind win over the Knicks in Game 1.
That's nuts. So,
there's a bit of history
in the Garden as well, probably. I can't remember.
Yeah, I'm gonna get the.
Oh, that's insane footage. And
YouTube video.
His celebration.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like the Garden. At the Garden in the Eastern Conference semifinals. You actually can't write this stuff.
Unbelievable. No, it's terrific.
So Tyrese Halliburton, 8 points in 9 seconds.
I don't know. I hope he can stand up to the moment, Tyrese. It would be nice.
Yeah. To be honest, I think the Knicks are just a much classier outfit here. They're much deeper. Jalen Brunson is just like clearly the best player.
Yeah.
On either team.
Well, you could argue him as well as being the standout player in the playoffs.
For sure. And yeah, I just don't think the Pacers, like this is the first year of the Pacers being good, like, you know, and it's like, you know, they traded for Siakam mid-season, so this isn't even, they haven't even had a full season of being like a good competitive team in the East, and the Knicks are just like looking the best of this Tom Thibodeau era.
Yeah,
by quite a while.
Yeah, it would be a steal if it was to happen, and I feel the same way about like the Celtics and the Cavs. I think really.
Oh yeah,
it's got to be a Celtics win, and I hope that they can gather some stronger momentum to make for a really good conference finals, and then potentially, if they make it to the end, can be properly competitive and not fade away in the way that they have in previous years.
Like when me and Lucas were doing our player drafts, like I think Lucas took Jason Tatum with the last pick because I stole Rudy Gobert with the second last pick.
Yeah.
And went for the two center lineup, just like Tim Connolly told
Very
me.
effective.
But it was just like I didn't want to pick any of the Celtics because it was like none of them have been like impressive. Like,
do something.
They haven't done anything. Like, Sam Hauser's been playing more minutes than half of them. You know, like Peyton Pritchard's been running point for most of that Heat series.
You probably know this better than me. What is the fact that Kristap's not around? Is that a big problem?
I don't think so for the Cavs series because Cavs are also probably without Jared Allen. I think it could get interesting.
What's wrong with Jared?
I can't remember. He's what's his
long term or
like he'll definitely be back for the conference finals. I think he's got bruised ribs, so he might be back. He might be back for the next series actually.
Okay.
He's game time decision, but like, you know, in the playoffs, everyone's kind of a game time decision. Yeah, you know, if it's less than a week.
Yeah.
I think that's the only problem that they can maybe pose for them is like, you know, Evan Mobley doesn't really beat opposing centers up on offense, but like if Jared Allen, you know, gets Al Horford in trouble, you know, then the only other big they're comfortable playing is Luke Cornett. They still have
Luke Cornett.
They still have Xavier Tillman, but he hasn't played at all in the playoffs, even in their easier games against the Heat.
Yeah.
So like, I think that would be the only way. But like, Jared Allen's not the sort of guy who will he'll dominate his other matchup and he'll have 25 and 20, but he's not going to have 40 points. You know, like he's not going to tear your defense apart.
Yeah.
But that would be the thing to watch out for, I think, without KP there. Yeah.
It's this is an aside, but it's interesting to me how conservative NBA teams are with playing guys that are a bit deeper in their roster, like in playoff games. Like compare it to other sports. Yeah. I don't know. Like it just like you've played a full 82 game season. Surely you've like worked through and like that guy who's 8th or whoever, he's got to be all right if you need him, right?
Yeah, but like, I mean, you know, it's a bit of a truism, but JJ Redick and LeBron were talking about this on a recent podcast. Like, you can end your playoff run in a moment. Like, one single mistake from Xavier Tillman can.
That's all she wrote.
Yeah. Like it is that. You know, the line is that thin in the playoffs that like you just can't have anyone making mistakes, and that's the thing is like, you know what NBA regular season games are like all the starters come off and the guys run around for a bit. And we go down 15 and then we like crawl back. And win. You know, you lose games against the Charlotte Hornets that you're meant to win. The Boston Celtics don't lose a series against the Cleveland Cavaliers, you know, because they're like, whatever, we'll throw Xavier Tillman out for 15 minutes. I mean, they might. Like, they got him for this playoff run because their big depth is so thin. But, to your broader point, I think it's just like, there's too much on the line.
Yeah. I really hope Xavier gets some minutes now after this.
No, I'm an OG Xavier Tillman hater, so you can.
Oh, really? Okay.
I just think he's just when he got traded to Boston,
Speak on it.
People are like, oh man, they've just solved their big issues now. I'm like, have you watched this guy play? Like, he's 6'9" and he like doesn't really know how to play basketball. Like,
watch.
Like he's big, he's an okay rebounder, but like he has zero bag.
Yeah.
Which I mean, you don't have to do if you're a backup center, to be fair. And he makes heaps and heaps of stupid mistakes. But people are like, fuck. What a good move by Boston. That was genius.
That was Boston.
Yeah. Bloody Brad Stevens. Another mastermind Brad Stevens.
We've got one more series.
Yeah, the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, great. Can I give my biased Minnesota view?
Yep.
I feel a rivalry towards the Thunder.
Yep. That's genuine, I think.
Because we've... just because we've come up at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, we've got, similar like the young star, and it's like, is Shea better than Ant?
Yeah.
And it's a bit petty, but I kind of do want to see them fail.
Yeah.
So it's not analysis so much as I hope it's a good series, but I'd like to see Dallas win.
Yeah. Okay. I think I don't think they've emerged yet, but I think that Shea versus Ant, like, long-term narrative will be really interesting.
It will.
Because like already what have we seen? Like Shea's 30-point per night scorer in the regular season, like this amazing one guy offense, bit more heliocentric as well than Ant is. And then like Ant's, like you said, he's been a bit streaky during the season and he's just turned it on for the playoffs. If he can do this for his entire playoff run, then it's like, Anthony Edwards is he's the LeBron James or the Jimmy Butler in this situation where like the playoffs come around and he's like, yeah, cool. Like now I'm playing my real basketball. Not knocking Shea at all. He was fucking awesome against, but like he wasn't going up against much,
Yeah. Hey now.
But yeah, I think this will be a really interesting series. Like I feel like Dallas have so much momentum now, and any game that Luka and Kyrie both play well in is like extremely difficult for the other team to win.
Yeah.
But like OKC they've got really good perimeter defenders. They've got Chet. They've like looked like a good playoff defense. And like I don't know what Dallas do about Shea. Like I don't know what Dallas do about Shea, and then you haven't even begun to think about Jalen Williams.
Right.
Or,
And who's helping? Who's helping those two people that play for Dallas?
Yeah.
Where does it? Yeah. Where are those other those moments where like in the Minnesota game, like a Nas Reed pops up, like, who's that guy?
Yeah. I mean, like their centers have all played really well the last 2 or 3 games. Like Gafford, Lively, and Kleber have all had like really, really good shifts. But like, yeah, that's playing off the space that Luka's creating. But I mean, that's what happens when you play with Luka. Like, Tim Hardaway will occasionally have like a 7 of 12 3-point shooting game. But like, otherwise it is just like what he can create for everyone else.
Yeah.
And apart from Kyrie, I think Kyrie creates his own little ecosystem when he's on the floor. But yeah, so I think that's going to be the challenge for Dallas is like, they're more experienced and they probably have the better playoff performers, but like it doesn't feel like a good matchup for them.
Yeah, it doesn't. And the Thunder are really cohesive as a unit. They're great. And having a series under their belt, going up against a better team now as well, they'll have some confidence. They'll have home court to start things off.
They shook off all the cobwebs in game 1 against the Pelicans. Like they looked fully nervous in that game, and they haven't batted an eyelid since.
That being said, I'm fully prepared for Luka to go for 60 or something.
Meltdown Shea.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's as good a place to wrap it up, Ollie. That's pretty solid 50 minutes there for pre-planned and preferred Monday night podcast.
Thank you for backing up your for bookending the start and end of this podcast with confirmation of the preferred candidate.
Whatever time you tuned in, you were assured of my intentions of getting Ollie on this episode.
No, it was such a pleasure. Anytime.
All right, great. Well, I'll speak to you next time.